right, it's Lucas with the Live Wire here. I'm talking with the vocalist of Canada's very own deathcore wrecking crew, Brand of Sacrifice. Talking with Kyle Anderson today. How are you, my friend?
I'm great. How are you?
Fantastic. We obviously had a little bit of a discussion before this started. We actually met on the Neverender boat cruise last year, which was super fun. I've been a fan of
Right.
your guys' band for years, and when that lineup got announced, it was Coheed, it was the Joey Eppard show because I'm a big fan of his, and it was you guys, and I'm like sold. That's all I need. So the thing that's interesting, we kind of talked about it before, but what was it like doing shows on a boat compared to doing them on land? Because I remember when I was in the theatre show for Coheed, Josh was having issues with the drums and being like, yeah, this ain't fun because we were hitting real choppy waters. I can only imagine like you guys having like the smaller stages like in different parts of it where like it's not like a big kind of theatre stage. It would have been pretty chaotic on the boat.
Yeah, it was interesting because a couple of the sets were pretty choppy. We played one set, I think it was the second set that we played, and I was like almost on an angle. And that was really interesting. But you know what? That's not something that you get to do very often, if ever. So, I have my issues with motion sickness I was telling you earlier, but I was really excited to be there. That's a really unique situation to be in and to play to people that you're literally living with for a few days. So it had its challenges, but at the same time it was a lot of fun too.
Yeah, and it was a crazy couple of days. Like I remember like we boarded in on the Monday, and it was basically as soon as the boat took port out of Miami, it was cool, gig, let's go kind of thing, and it just didn't stop for like 4.5 days. So yeah, the fact that like at the time I was really excited because I was like, oh my god, I get to see this band. I don't know if they're ever going to come to Australia. And in saying that, like now this is going to be your second tour
Hmm.
within that 12-month period since I've seen you guys with Thy Art Is Murder. That tour is also going to be really fun. But I actually want to talk about the Knotfest tour
Yeah.
because I think right as I was on the cruise, I think the Knotfest lineup dropped, and then when we came back to port, I was like, oh my god, like the band I just saw 3 times here is going to be in Australia. How was that like coming out to Australia for the first time? Like, did you guys kind of expect the reaction you guys got, or was it a big surprise that you guys like didn't really know what your reach would be here? Or
We definitely didn't know what our reach would be like, which kind of um so personally I was struggling with some vocal problems. I was taking a medication that sort of affected my voice quite a lot, and I sort of had to go through some rehabilitation after that actually for a few months. I've done a couple of tours since then. I'm back 100% again, but so I was kind of struggling in a sense. I was excited to be there, really happy to see those turnouts, but I was also a little bummed that I couldn't sort of produce or give the fans what I felt they deserved from a live show. So I definitely made a promise that we would come back again before the year's end, if not the subsequent year, just because I want to make sure that we really give that a better experience. And the great news is that we're going to be playing a longer set now as well compared to Knotfest. So amazing experience overall, minus the vocal hiccups. And crazy enough, like I think I've missed 2 shows prior to that in my entire career since I started doing this when I was 16, 17 years old ever. So it was definitely a little bit alarming at the time, but I've spoken with physicians and whatnot. We're all good. We're clear to move ahead. So um, I'm just excited to come back and just rip these next shows.
have you done any shows since the Australian tour, or are these going to be the
Yeah,
first shows back?
we've done a number of shows. So we did a whole European run. We played the sort of first half of the European summer festivals that happen, along with a few headlining shows, our first headlining shows in Europe. And then we also did a full US tour with Veil of Maya and Left to Suffer and Gideon and a few other bands as well. So I was feeling top of the game for that one. So and that's the first time we'd ever played hour long plus set. So uh, yeah, we're feeling good. We're recording our new record right now, so um,
Amazing. I had a question if you're going to be doing new material because it has been a couple of years since Lifeblood has come out. So obviously we got Between Death and Dreams last year,
mhm.
but I was curious about that. So is there going to be any teasers potentially for new songs on the Australian tour?
I think it's going to be more of the greatest hits for now. We're kind of just gonna run it back from what we sort of did with Knotfest, and there's probably quite a few people that weren't able to make Knotfest too that'll be out at these shows as well. You know, Knotfest had a wider lineup, and maybe the diehard deathcore fans are going to say, "Oh, I'll just wait till they come the next time." So, um,
Yeah,
I think it'll be a good time for them.
yeah. What's interesting, so I was at the Brisbane Knot Fest where they came out and said, hey, so Kyle's not going to be here because of the voice issues. I had been amping you guys up to my friend, being like, I saw them on the boat 3 times. They're incredible. This is going to be sick. And then they said that, but I also said at the same time, I was like, don't like look at it this way. This is a set that no one is going to see in the sense that it's all instrumental. Like this is so rare, and she loved the instrumentation of it all. So I'm going to be bringing her to this show to be like, look at what Kyle can do because he's insane. But those two Brisbane shows definitely were unique in that sense that it's very likely that unless something happens, those types of shows are never going to be replicated. I don't think, which is a kind
Yeah,
of way I look at it.
yeah, I think there's been maybe three or four of those ever. So, we try to avoid those at all costs, really, but the show must go on, of course. So,
That's it. So now to go backwards a little bit. Obviously, like I said, I've known you guys for a little while, and I kind of know the origin of the band's name. So can you just run for those that don't know, how you guys got the name Brand of Sacrifice? Because I think this is a cool story.
so my favorite anime and manga growing up is this story called Berserk, and I really enjoyed it because I was sort of a young kid looking for super violent and visceral animes. And then I realized, well, there's so much more to this story. And I fell in love with it. And, I was sort of really captivated by the main character, Guts's resolve and his ability to push through literal demons and dark circumstances. And I kind of found that inspiring in a sense, even though it's a fictional character. I think we all sort of go through our own struggles, maybe not with literal demons, but your demons could be something like depression or anxiety or things like that. So I just thought it would be really awesome to sort of merge metal music, which I feel sort of shares a lot of the same characteristics as Berserk. It's dark, it's visceral, but it's also quite nuanced and philosophical and detailed and um, evokes emotion in a way uh, both of the art forms do. So I felt like it was a perfect marriage, I guess, of ideas. So I felt like I wanted to just write an EP for fun with my friend, something really heavy about my favorite manga. I didn't really think much of it. Didn't really think it was going to be anything that people cared about. And then it ends up being something that is now sort of my career. So, not even sort of, it is my career. Um, but that's sort of all where it all came from. That's where the inspiration comes from. And I'm still in love with the manga and the anime, 90s anime specifically to this day. So, just rewatching it right now for inspiration for this new record. So
Hell yeah! So I'm assuming then that inspiration of the original EP, that is what become the Interstice. Is that right?
yeah, that was the interstice. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Berserk isn't something that I've ever read or watched, so I think I might have to finally kind of dive in. I love stuff like Evangelion and obviously all the
Mhm.
classics, Akira, Full Metal Brotherhood. That's all my kind of jam. So I think Berserk's gonna have to be something that I hit up. But I've always been curious about the Berserk thing because it's interesting when you kind of see kind of the nerddom of times coming into metal and like crossing over.
Mhm.
So it's cool for me as someone who's grown up a nerd my whole life who loves metal to see that it's not just me. There's also the bands that make the music that are inspired by that stuff.
Definitely, we're all nerds at heart. We all have things that we obsess about, whether it's anime, whether it's comics, whether it's music. And I think there's a nice synergy between the fandoms. So
Yeah, hell yeah. Another question I've got for you is over the course of the last few years, you've had some really interesting collaborators when you guys have made songs. So Spencer Chamberlain's been one of them, Will Ramos, you've worked with We Came as Romans. There's someone who's in that list, though, that I think is super interesting, who I'm a big fan of, and you guys dropped a song with him last year, Nick Nocturnal.
Yeah. So
How did that... Cool.
We're both originally from Toronto, and hilariously enough, we both ended up in Orlando, Florida somehow. So he lives just a few minutes away from me. We actually had dinner the other night. And we've been homies for a good while. Collaborated in a few different ways. He's worked with me on some of my clothing stuff. I own a brand called Shibori Threads. And then I've made a few songs with him. We did the Attack on Titan theme song together. We did a sort of a Lamb of God styled original song together. So we've done a bunch of stuff, and he's come on my podcast that I used to run. So we've had a long history together.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that Lamb of God inspired song, that's Awakening the Ashes, which sounds very Lamb of God. Like when you hear that title, it sounds very Lamb of God inspired.
Yeah, Nick was working on a few tunes that were sort of in the style of other bands. He was doing like a little kind of TikTok series where he would write some riffs or write a little section of a song that would be in the style of a band, and then maybe he would turn it into a full song. And so that was one of them. So we did that together. And then we ended up playing with Lamb of God shortly after, which is funny as well.
That's actually super funny. No, I've been a fan of his for years. So like when you guys dropped that song last year, I was like, oh, this is cool. But again, I mean, he works with Howard and he works with a whole bunch of other different bands as well. So it's not surprising you guys had crossover, especially too with, like you said, you guys live close together, both in Canada and now in Miami. Are you permanently like based in Miami now, or?
So I'm in Orlando.
Sorry, Orlando. Yeah.
Yeah, I do go to Miami a lot though. But yeah, I'm permanently based in Orlando now.
Yeah, cool. So after the boat, we probably would have been hanging out in the same area and not even known. That's funny. Cool. Well, this Australian tour that's coming up, on the tour is going to be Thy Art Is Murder, Great American Ghost, and Loon. Did you guys kind of hang out with Thy Art on the Knotfest tour early in the year? Is that kind of where that bond came from, or what? Like, how did that come about?
We've actually toured with them before in America. In 22, I believe it was, we toured with, they were doing a co-headliner with After the Burial. So it was Thy Art, After the Burial, sort of interchanging each night. And then direct support was Currents, and then we were opening.
Yeah, cool. That's awesome.
That's how we know.
Cool. And so, did obviously with you wanting to come back after what happened earlier in the year, did you just hit them up, or did they come to you, or like how did that come about?
They came to us. I mean, we've had an existing relationship, and I like all the guys, so I'm excited to tour with their new singer as well. So that will be cool.
Yeah, he was great. The first time I kind of caught him was Knotfest. That's the first time I'd heard him doing all the old stuff, and it kind of blew me away. He's really good, so I'm really excited to get a full Thy Art set and not like a 40-minute festival set. So that's going to be really fun. Any cool surprises we can expect with this run coming up? Obviously, with the longest set, like is there maybe some throwbacks, older songs going to be thrown into the set, or?
I think we'll just play sort of all the greatest hits that you can, the people that would expect us to play for now. We haven't been to Australia too much, so I think we should sort of deliver what people know and love. And then when we come back again, we'll be playing all new music. So,
hell yeah.
In the midst of finishing our record right now.
Is there an estimated time frame on when that's going to drop, or?
I think we're hoping to start rolling things out early next year.
Cool.
I was literally working on it today, but we're pretty deep into it now. So.
Hell yeah! Well, yeah, like you said, there'll have to be another tour after that drop. So, I'll take 3 tours in 2 years for sure. Perfect. Well, Brand of Sacrifice returned to Australia in November on the monster bill I just mentioned with Thy Art is Murder, Great American Ghost, and Loon. Tickets on sales for all shows. Grab them before they're gone. Brand of Sacrifice is a band you do not want to miss. Appreciate the time you've taken to chat. You know, obviously cutting in between album mastering or whatever you're doing. So appreciate you taking the time out to chat.
Yeah, great to see you again, and hopefully we can chat again when I'm over there, down under.
Fingers crossed. All the best.
Yeah, you take care. Have a good one.